Today we're gonna take a simple sketch and then start photo bashing it until it looks realistic photo. Hey there, my name is Ali. All the photos we're gonna use today are gonna be available in the description. So let's get started. The first thing is the idea. This is actually, I drew it like I used the lasso tool and I just drew whatever I wanted and I colored the things close to the camera. I made them with dark, and the more we go further away to the sky, the more faded everything comes. I'm not gonna explain this part in detail how I created it. But all I'm gonna say about this part is that like I'm still learning it. All you need to do is like find a good composition. If you use the crop tool and press click, you'll find that somehow you need this to be in the second third, so it's in the point of interest. And you need to have everything balanced, like everything is like all the circles of mountains are leading to that part. I'm gonna show you. Like everything is leading there. Let's choose a color. Yeah, so like we're having some sort of frames like that, frames here everywhere, and this one is like pointing here, this is pointing there, this is pointing there. So this is our point of interest. Okay, how we're gonna transform this like simple idea into a real photo. Okay, it's very important to know that when you're on the move tool and you don't have the auto select, if I press Control and click on that layer, it's automatically gonna bring that layer. I'm gonna press Control Z to bring it back to its original position. Another thing you need to know, if you press Control and click, you must be on the thumbnail on the square. If you press Control click, it will automatically make a selection of whatever your all the pixels on this layer. Okay, now we have our idea. Okay, the next step is actually like finding the photos. This is like, I believe it's like one of the hardest steps. So I chose this like sort of cave photo. I'm gonna use this for almost everything, but first I'm gonna use the quick selection tool, and I wanna get rid of like some parts. Then I'm gonna zoom in. I'm gonna hold Alt now to remove this area. I don't want to get rid of that part in the mountain. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is press layer mask. If it's the opposite, all you do is press Control I or Control or Command if you're using Mac. Then I'm gonna drag this one to the here. Okay, now I have it. Let's start with the one which is most furthest away, which is called layer 11, this one. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that this one is on top of it. I'm gonna do the apply layer mask, and I'm gonna like place it on top of it. Press Control click on that one, and on this one I'm gonna add layer mask. So now it's clipped on it exactly. Okay, wait, why do I have okay, now you can unlink this one and you can stand on that one and you can move it around. Make sure it's filling the whole thing, and if it's not filling, we're gonna fix it. I'm gonna press Control T. It's like actually huge, so I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller, something like that. Okay, it's still, we have like, if you look at layer 11, if we have some parts here, let me close everything else. See, we have some parts here we need like to fill. So what I'm gonna do is that there are like several ways. You can do it with the clone stamp or you can do it with a lot of different ways. In this case, I'm just gonna hold Alt and I'm gonna drag it like this. Then I'm gonna press Control T, flip horizontal, flip vertical, press enter. Make sure like Control T, I'm gonna flip it horizontal again. I wanna make sure it's covering like the whole area. Yeah, something like that. Now what I'm gonna do is like, now I made sure they are both, let's close the link. If I move them, now I'm sure they are covering the whole selection. So I'm gonna press Control E, Now they are merged into one layer. I don't need this one now. I'm gonna close it. And we have this one now. It's like our first layer. It's the one furthest back. Okay. Now we need to work with this one, layer 9. So again, I'm gonna drag this one here. Okay, I'm gonna need... Oh, it's still huge, so I'm gonna make it a little bit smaller. Something like that. And I need to make sure it's filling most of the the selection. Something like that. Then I can like just hold Alt, flip it horizontal to make sure it's covering. Let's control click. We still have the down part missing, so I'm gonna make another third copy. Control T, rotate it, something like that. Need to make sure it's like filling all the grays. Okay, something like that. To blend these two together so nothing looks like it's overlapping, just stand on the layer mask, use a brush, make sure it's black brush, and very softly just erase the edges between the two so they blend together as if they are one. You can do the same also here. Okay, we can merge these three together. And then we can like move again, something like that. I can make it actually bigger. Something like that. Okay. Then I need to get rid of like the excessive areas here and there. I'm gonna just do it using an eraser. Yeah, just something like that. I pressed Ctrl Z because I made a mistake. You need like to make it on several clicks. So when you press Ctrl and Z, nothing goes wrong. I actually don't know what is that one. I'm gonna remove that one for now. Okay, now I'm gonna merge these like everything together. And now I'm gonna press Control click on layer 9. Then I'm gonna mask this one. So now we have, let's close this one for now. We don't need it. We have this one and we have the one behind of it. Just to make a separation, I'm gonna add a curves adjustment layer. Make sure it's linked below. And I'm gonna make it brighter. Forget how bright it is now, just make anything so we can just see the difference between this layer and that layer. Okay, and this one also we can add a curves adjustment layer. I'm gonna make it faded a little bit, but not so much, so we can still see like the other layers. We still have like this one and that one. Okay, I'm gonna drag this one. Okay, huge of course. Let's make it smaller. Something like that. I'm gonna show you now a different way to fill the missing area. Okay, I'm gonna apply layer mask. Which layer is this one? It's layer 7, so I'm gonna put it on top of layer 7. Then I'm gonna control click layer 7. Then I'm gonna add layer mask. But now we still have this part missing. So I can try like moving this one around like that, but it's not gonna completely fill it. So in order to fill this missing area, I'm gonna stand on this layer. I'm gonna go to something called a clone stamp. Then I'm gonna stamp like maybe from this area and put here. Let's not do from the top. Let's take from here maybe. I'm gonna clone stamp this area. Then let's take from here a little bit and clone stamp. Now we filled it completely. Okay, let's close this one now. We don't need it. And let's add a curves adjustment layer to this one and fade it out a little bit so we can see like the difference between this level, that level, and the final level. Okay, now we have this the closest to the camera. Let's drag this one again. You can use like different materials, but in this case I'm only using one material, the cave, the blue cave. It's a little bit blue. I'm gonna do this. Make sure it's apply layer mask. Then I'm gonna make another copy of it. Flip horizontal. And maybe let's use this one like that. Just to make some sort of variation. Let's try something like... Just the most important thing is that it's completely filled. And then if I close this one, this is the edge. So I'm gonna erase from here something like that. Okay, and then I'm gonna merge these two together. Which layer is that? I'm gonna stand on the move tool, control click, it's called layer 6. So I'm gonna control click layer 6, stand on this one, add layer mask. So now it's only on that layer. As you can see, if I move it, this is the one. Okay, so now I have it. Okay, this one needs a little bit fading also. The black is too dark. Just make sure it's linked. I'll fade it. But now this one is more faded than that one. So I'm gonna go to that one, fade it even more. So it looks more further away than the first one. And then I'm gonna go to the third one. Go to the curves, fade it even more. This is essential if your background is bright, because the further away you go from the camera, like the more faded everything is gonna be because of the atmosphere. Okay, I don't need this one actually, I'm gonna get rid of it. Okay, now let's jump to this one. Now we have a problem. You see this edge, it looks really bad, so I wanna fix that edge, so I'm gonna make the selection something like that. Fix that edge. Yes, then I'm gonna stand on the layer mask, and with white color I'm gonna paint so we fill these areas all over again, and this part also. But now we have a problem that we have like some missing parts here. So what I'm gonna do is, using the clone stamp, I'm just gonna clone stamp. Okay, you must stand on the layer, not on the mask. I made a mistake. So I'm just gonna clone stamp this area. So I fill it with texture taken from that mountain. Okay, here I don't know what I'm gonna add. Maybe I'm gonna add water, I guess. Okay, so let's add the water. This is the water I chose to add. Now I'll face a problem. You see, when I added it, it came in between the curves and the layer. So I must press yes. Then I'm gonna bring the curves down. And again, I'm gonna hold Alt click to link it to the one below of it, so that it's not affecting the water. Now I'm gonna fix the water. I need it to be like stretched, something like that. Maybe I'll increase its size a little bit, something like that. Okay, it still needs a lot of fixation. I'm gonna put it like below everything. Yeah, something like that. And then this one needs actually to be fixed. The edge here is looking odd. I'm gonna use the polygonal lasso tool in this case. First, I'm gonna fill this one out. Let's go with the white. There's a missing area. I'm gonna use this one and I'm gonna clone stamp. I pressed S for clone stamp, Alt click, then click to fill the missing area. Then on the layer mask, I need to make this one like somehow leveled, something like that. Straight line. Then I'm gonna use the brush, black color, and I'm just gonna get rid of this one so we have like the mountain and the water. We can actually make some sort of variation. Let's try something like that. Okay, let me get rid of this one. Which layer is that one? I'm also gonna get rid of this one. So it's somehow like a tunnel for the water. And also I'm gonna get rid of that one like that. This one here like this. On this layer we have a problem. You see this faded area? I'm just gonna get rid of it also. On the layer mask I need to paint black to delete. Remember, always black deletes, white brings back. Okay, but now the mountain looks odd because we don't have like this sharp edge mountain. So I'm gonna use the lasso tool. Yes, this is the right layer. Just making sure it's the right one. Then using the lasso tool, I'm just gonna like make it look more natural, something like that. I don't want sharp edges. It's like a mountain. Like that. Then I'm gonna delete. This is still a sharp edge. Yeah, it's much better now. Okay, now we need like to make the water. Yes, something like that. But then I need to delete the water. I'm gonna add layer mask. Go to gradient. Make sure it's like this one, foreground to transparent. Make sure you have the transparency on. Make sure you're on the first one and on color black. Now if I delete, it will delete from the water. I need to fade the water, so I'm gonna delete the last part of it, so it blends in with the background we have. Okay, Now one thing I need to do to make my file go faster, go to the crop tool, just press one click anywhere. You see all the excessive areas, they're just making our file like slower. So if you click on delete cropped pixels and you press yes, now we got rid of, it should like, okay now, okay, it should, when I press like the delete cropped pixels and I press yes, it should get rid of everything on the edge. I don't know what's happening. It's really weird. Maybe I have a problem with my like Photoshop. It should, when you have the delete cropped pixels, it should delete everything outside to help you make your file go faster. Okay, let's fix the water for now. I'm just gonna, it's like, okay, if you look now, this is like, it's more green than blue. It has a lot of cyan. So I'm gonna go to hue and saturation, link it below. If you look at this color, this is the color of water. It's something cyan. But the color of the mountains is blue. I need it to go to the blue. So from cyan to blue, you move right. So I'm gonna move this one right. So now it's blue. But now it's too colorful compared to the other ones. So I'm just gonna reduce the saturation. One last thing, I'm gonna go to curves adjustments. I'm gonna fade it out. You fade out things by pulling the black up. And maybe I'll pull the white down. So now I'm lowering the contrast so the water blends in better. Okay. It's still bright, I guess. So I'm gonna go brightness and contrast and darken it a little bit. Okay. Now we're good. Let's put the background. I'm gonna use this photo for the background. I'm gonna put it here. Always put it in a different layer before dragging it, so it gets like its original size. You see its size now, it's the original size. But if you don't do that, you get a smaller size. Let's say I want something like that, maybe. I want this foggy like atmosphere in the background. Okay, but then I'm covering the water. I need to delete the lower parts, so I'm gonna do the layer mask, go to the gradient, hold shift and just like start deleting from down. So we have the water blended with like the forest and the fog at the background. One more thing I need to do, I need to make like a bright area here. I'm just gonna take the dodge tool, make sure I'm on the midtones with a low exposure, hardness 0. I'm just gonna press one click here, click, another one. Okay, I'm standing here. I need to stand on the layer, not on the like the mask. I made a mistake. Okay. So I pressed like several clicks here and there. So it brightened that area a little bit so that we have a point of interest here. Okay. This one. Okay, this one, the curves is too strong. Actually, it's too faded. I need like to reduce the opacity of the curves adjustment a little bit. It's too strong. Let me bring it down. Oh, not so much. It must be like just a little bit more faded than the one on top of it, so it looks like it's behind it. Okay. Okay, now I'll start fixing the levels. Okay, we have this level first, second, third, and fourth. Okay, first thing, I'm gonna jump to the fourth one. Make sure it's the right one. Okay, it's the right one. I'm gonna add a new layer on top of it. Usually, I like to put the violet color to it and press that lock. I'll tell you why now. Then I'm gonna go to a brush. I'm gonna sample this color. It's a color of like a fog, blue fog, something like that. And then I'm gonna use a brush, just make sure, okay, it's like the right one. Then with a very low opacity, I'm just gonna add some fog here. This will define the levels a little bit. Now you can see the difference between this level and that level very clearly, right? Like now you can tell this is a level and this is a level, but it's like of course too strong. I'll either try the soft light. Yeah, the soft light is good. Okay, let's do the same with the second one. It's this one. I'm gonna add a layer on top of it. Make sure it's violet and lock it. And I'm gonna just like add some of that. If you have like some sort of a fog brush, it can work much better. Okay, I'm doing it on top of that one. Okay, now let's put it to soft light again. So we have some sort of like shows you the, it defines that line, creating more contrast a little bit. Okay, let's go to that one now. Create a new layer, give it the violet, link it, brush, and just brush behind of it, something like that. You can use like the fog brush, it will give you better result, something something like that, but it's not like a big deal. And put it to soft light. It's just like more random, not like the normal circle brush. It's like some sort of clouds or fog. Okay, so now we created some sort of variation. Okay, I need to add one more thing. Let's go to the first layer. On top of the fog, I'm gonna add a curves adjustment. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna add it below the fog. Make sure it's linked below. And then I'm gonna brighten very strongly. And then I'm gonna press the X. Then I'm gonna stand on this one, press Ctrl and I. Now it's invisible. But if I paint white on the black mask, it's gonna bring it, like for example, if I paint white here, it's gonna bring it back again. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a low opacity, and on these edges, I'm just gonna like paint white on the edges, something like that, to make it look like it's not flat, it's more of a 3D thing. And to make sure, like to give it variation, like the light is hitting on some areas more than the other areas. So now we have like, these now don't look too like 2D like before, it's more 3D. You just do it on the edge to make sure the edge, like, because the edge is like facing the, it's close to the light, so it should be like more faded towards the light. And the best thing about that is that you can always open, like you can make it dark instead of bright, you can make it like very bright, something like that. I like actually like more bright. Let's make it even brighter, something like that, so it fades better like with the environment. Let's add a little bit of more areas, we missed that part. Okay, it's too strong now, so I'm gonna lower the opacity of the brush itself. Okay, something like that. And you can always like lower the opacity or leave it as strong as it is. Okay, let's go to that one. Okay, this is like the second one. Let's do the same. Add a curves adjustment, link it below, make it like a lot brighter, something like that. Then on the layer mask, Control I. Then using our brush, let's just fade the edges a little bit. Make sure it's looking a little bit 3D, not too flat. You can take your time doing these things, like it's all about the details. But now I'm just doing it like fast, so you can just get the point and work on your own on it. Okay. Wait, let me see which layer is that exactly. Okay, so we can like do the lower parts also. Yeah, okay, looking good now. Maybe you can do a little bit here. Okay. And on that edge as well. Okay, the last one, no, we still have to, this one. Let's make a curves adjustment, make it bright, make sure it's linked below, then Control I, then using a brush, make sure it's white, low opacity, so you can have like more variation, and start playing around with the edges, making them brighter, so it's more 3D than what's before. Let's make sure this is that layer. Okay, let's just give all of it a little bit of brightness from the edge. And the last one is that one. Let's add the curves, pull it up. Actually, I want to make this one a little bit more faded first. Then I'm gonna add another curves adjustment layer for the edges. Control I. Then using a white brush again, Okay, it's very weak. I don't know why. I'm gonna make it a little bit stronger. Yeah, like that. Okay. And let's make the edges brighter because the light should be hitting it. Okay. Okay, now I guess we're done with the mountains. One more thing I need to do, I need to do the reflection of the water. So on this layer, I'm gonna hold Alt, drag it below, so I have a copy. Then I'm gonna apply layer mask. Then I'm gonna press Ctrl T, flip it vertical, move it down till it's like matching the one on top of it. Something like that, okay. A part of it is missing here actually, so I'm just gonna clone stamp. What's missing? I don't know why it's missing actually, but it doesn't matter. I'm gonna put it on top of the water. Then I'm gonna change the blending mode. Let's try the soft light. Okay, the soft light looks good, but it's too strong. So I'm gonna reduce the opacity and I'm gonna press Ctrl M for the curves so I can fade it out a little bit, something like that. And let's reduce the opacity. So now we have the reflection of the mountains on the water. Okay, let's jump to the final part, which is the man and that cliff. For this, I'm gonna use this photo actually. I'm gonna add it on new one. Just one thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna close these ones to make sure my it goes faster. Then let's get rid. Let me use the magic wand actually, it's gonna be better because it's all blue. I'm gonna hold shift and I'm just gonna keep clicking till I sample all the blue. Okay, this blue is not gonna be easy because there is variation in the water, so I'm gonna do it using the quick selection. The quick selection is faster, but it's less accurate. And now I need to get rid of these people, so I'm just gonna hold shift and just get rid of them. Something like that. And I need to get rid of this rock at the back, I don't need it. And like this area, all of it, I don't need it also. Let's add layer mask, Control I to see how it looks like. Okay, looking good. Let's drag it and see what we can do with it. Control T, right click, flip horizontal. So it's like horizontal aligned. Let's put it on top of everything actually. I want to know which layer is that one, 3. Okay, I'm gonna apply layer mask. Now it's on top of layer 3. I'm gonna control click layer 3. Then I'm gonna stand on this one, add layer mask. Then I'm gonna now close the link and start moving it around till it's filling it. Okay, now the texture is too big, so I'm gonna press Ctrl T and I'm just gonna make it smaller. I don't need it that huge. Yeah, something like that. Then I'm gonna stretch it out just a little bit here and there to make sure it's filling. Something like that. Okay. If there is, let's close this one for now. Okay. Now the problem is it's cut in a very weird way. So I'm gonna just stand on that one using the brush. I'm gonna make sure it's 100% hardness and I have full opacity. If I paint white, it's gonna bring it back. I need it to look natural. Like this straight line is not natural. So I'm just gonna paint back the real edge so it looks natural. And now if I want to get rid of a thing, I'm just gonna paint with the edge of the rock. So when it's cut, it looks more natural and nothing looks like it's sharp knife cut. Okay, if I do that now, let's see. Now it's looking more natural. Then I can close the link and just move it down a little bit. So we have our model in the right area. Okay. Okay, now we have another problem. Let's stand on that layer. Let's try bringing back to see. Okay, I'm gonna bring back that area just to make sure I'm cutting also a natural cut, something like that. Just walk with the edges of the rocks so it looks more natural cut. Okay, something like that. Okay, now it's looking much natural. If this edge is too sharp, I always like to do that thing. Take the blur tool and just blur the edges a little bit so they are not so sharp. This works like really good. It makes the sharp cuts look much more natural. Okay, let's try like playing around. I'll do something like that. Let's see if it will work or it will look horrible. I don't know yet actually. Let's make the rock so it looks like it's like having some sort of a leg or something. Okay, now when I color here, I'm actually painting with white, but I don't have texture here. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna clone stamp. So standing on this one, I'm gonna clone stamp from this area and I'm gonna fill actually the missing part here and there. Okay, so now it looks a little bit natural. Okay, now it's looking good, but it's too flat. So the first thing, I'm just gonna blur the edge like I told you. Blur the edge. Make sure when you're blurring, you're standing on the layer mask. Just blur the edges. One more thing, I need to make this one looks 3D. So I'm gonna dodge and burn. Let's start with burning. If you're standing on dodge and you want to burn, just hold Alt and click. So now you're burning. Without Alt, I'm dodging. So I'm gonna burn a little bit of these areas. Okay, first I'm gonna dodge the edge because the edge is close to the light. Let's dodge that area. Let's burn actually some parts here and there. I need to burn this area to make it look like more 3D. And I'm gonna burn also this area here. So now it's not looking like it's flat. It's more of like having a variation of light. So it looks 3D. Let's burn the middle part here because it's like opposite to the light. This one also, it's opposite to the light. We can go to the highlights actually and start burning. So we remove the bright areas only, we leave the rest of the everything. Because these areas are opposite to the light, so they need to be dark. However, the edges here, I'm standing on the highlights still, I'm gonna dodge the edges. Dodging is just, if you're standing on the dodge tool, just clicking will dodge, alt click will burn. I'm dodging the edges. Okay, now it looks like, of course, very fake still, but we will fix it. The main problem with that one is it's too yellowish compared to the like very bluish environment we have. So I'm gonna go to I don't know, let's start with hue saturation. Usually you fix color using hue saturation, color balance, and curves. Hue saturation, make sure it's linked below. I need to bring it to the blue. This is cyan, this is blue. Somewhere here. Like, I guess this is the color, but it's still too bright. So we can darken it a little bit, and I'm just gonna reduce the opacity of this layer to 50%. So it's just like, it removed the yellow only. Now I'm gonna go to the color balance. Let's jump into the shadows, add some blue. Make sure it's linked first. Add some blue, it's not really working. Add cyan. Yeah, cyan is like doing it better than the blue. Some cyan here. And in the highlights, if we add some blue and some cyan. Let's go to the shadows, increase the cyan. No, that's too strong. Okay, I guess now color-wise, we fixed it. But the thing is, this is too bright. It's like full of white. So now we need to fix the value, not the color. So I'm gonna do the curves adjustment layer. And I'm gonna first bring like the darks a little bit down, something like that. I'm gonna take the black points, bring them up a little bit. And then the white points, I'm also gonna bring them down. Something like that. Okay, now it's fixed, but it needs, I guess, more color. So I'm gonna go to a color balance layer again. I'm gonna add some cyan. Actually, I'm gonna add some blue, not cyan. This is like, I believe, the hardest part is like training your eyes to determine what's wrong with the photo so you can fix it. Always zoom out, like to take a better look at your photo. One more thing I highly recommend, you go to image adjustments, I mean image rotation, sorry. Flip canvas horizontal. You see I also have it on Control plus H. I use it a lot. When you flip canvas horizontal, you see like the photo from a different perspective. This helps a lot. Like every professional artist should do that. Okay, so now we have like, we still need to add our model. Okay, let's close that layer for now. You're free like to choose any one you want, any model, but for this one I'm gonna use that one. I'm not gonna link that one actually to the description. I want you like to be free to use any one you want. This is not the best one, I'm just using it for the sake of like the tutorial. And I'm gonna cut it like really fast. Like I made my selection, then I'm gonna hold Alt to bring out the things that I don't want to cut, something like that. Something like that. Okay, let's try. Let's try masking it out. Control I. Okay, I'm gonna select this part, that part. I'm holding shift while selecting. Then control backspace because the black color is on the background, so it's control backspace. This is control backspace. This is alt backspace. It's a fast way to color. Okay, we still have problems here. Let's give him legs actually because he doesn't have legs. Okay, control backspace. Let's fix this shield actually. I'm gonna use a brush. The best thing is that when you press X, it moves from black to white, pressing X. So white will bring back, black will delete. So you can keep jumping between them two until you get like the best result. Okay, let's see if we can fix the legs. Let's first put his size, something like that. Let's flip horizontal. Okay, sorry. Let's say he's something like that. I need to add a little bit of legs to him because he's missing some legs due to like the grass. So I'm just gonna draw the rest of the legs something like that and something like that. Then I'm just gonna clone stamp from his trousers. Clone stamp. And on the layer mask, I'm just gonna paint with white to bring back. So now we have legs. Let's close this one. Now we have our model in the area we wanted him to be. I guess I need to make him a little bit smaller still. He's big compared to the environment. Yeah, something like that. And the best thing about that model is that if you see the light here, it's hitting exactly the right part because the light is coming from that area and the left side from that model is lit. So we don't need to do the lighting, but he's too contrasty. So I'm gonna go to curves, link it below and just bring the fade him a little bit so he matches the environment. And we need to give him a little bit of blue and cyan. So in the color balance, I'm gonna add some cyan and some blue just so he matches the environments. Okay, I guess we're done with the hardest part for now. The next part is gonna be the color grading. I'm gonna color grade everything together. First, I'm gonna do the curves. I always like to pull the blacks up. I don't want complete black in my photo because black is like missing data. So I always pull the black a little bit up. Then I take the shadows here, pull them down a little bit. Then I'll either bring that one like that and make it like too bright, or I'm gonna pull it down. I guess I'm gonna pull it down in this case and take the white areas, make them even whiter. So remember these curves. The black, I made them more gray. The white, I made them more white. And here the shadows, I made them darker. And here like the highlights, instead of making it like too bright, I made it more faded. Okay, now we need to color. I'm gonna go to the red. In the shadows, I'm gonna add some cyan. In the highlights, I'm gonna add some red. Then I'm gonna jump to the blue. In the shadows, I'm gonna add some blue. In the highlights, I'm gonna add some yellow. So now we're having like some sort of bluish cyan and the opposite of it, orange. Okay, then let's go to gradient map. I'm gonna use this one, or let's say this one, doesn't matter actually. But instead of violet, I'm gonna use some sort of like a cyan. Make sure it's not so strong. And here I'm gonna use some sort of orange, bright orange, something like that. And let's see what it looks like when we change it to soft light. Okay, it added a lot of, I like it actually very much, but I'm gonna just like, let's say put it to 30% opacity. I like the effect, the contrast between the yellow and the blue it added. Okay, let's try increasing the opacity actually. It's still looking good when we increase the opacity. It adds a lot of variation to the photo. Okay, let's do our like, let's bring the eyes. Let me explain what I'm gonna do. I need the eyes like to look here more. So I'm gonna add a curves adjustment layer, brighten everything up like that. Then I'm gonna press Ctrl I. Now it's invisible, but then I'm gonna take a brush, make sure it's white brush, and make sure it's like zero hardness and of course low opacity. We don't want things to go too strong. And I'm just gonna press a click here and another click maybe here. So you see what that did? It made this area a lot brighter. Okay, now I wanna make the opposite. Like the same way I made this area brighter, I wanna make the opposite darker. So I'm gonna press Ctrl J, then I'm gonna press Ctrl I. And now we have everything bright. You see, now I'm targeting the outside areas only. You see? Now I'm targeting the outside areas. Now if I made them darker, you see, I'm darkening only the outside areas. So I'm just gonna like do a very subtle one, something like, let me pull from that one and a little bit from here. I believe it's too strong. I'm gonna lower its opacity. So now these two, what they did is that they brought focus to the main object we have here. Okay, and the last thing, I'm gonna hold Control Alt and Shift, which is Command Option and Shift, then press E. What that does is that it merges everything into a new separate layer, so we can go to Filter, Camera Raw Filter, and we can edit it, the whole of it in one go. Okay, I'm gonna brighten everything a little bit actually. The shadows, it's too dark. If you see the shadows here, we have them, they're darker, they're really dark. So I'm gonna brighten the shadows. I just stood here and pressed click and drag to the right. It's the same as doing this. So I made the shadows a little bit brighter. Add some contrast maybe. The clarity is like a matter of taste. I like to reduce the clarity. Like, don't go too strong with the clarity. It makes things look awful. Just reduce it a little bit. And I'm gonna jump to the effects module. I'm gonna dehaze the photo a little bit. Dehazing will like remove a little bit of the fog, make things clearer. And I'm gonna add like a little bit of vignette to everything. And I'm gonna press OK. So now we have this before. I'm gonna press Ctrl Z, after, before, and after. Okay, that's it for today's tutorial. If you have any comments or suggestions, make sure you put them in the comments below. I'm very active and I'm gonna reply you as soon as I see it. Thank you guys.